Welcome, beautiful souls, to the Beyond the Belief podcast. I'm your host, Lavender Loveway. With each episode, I invite you personally to join me as we explore a belief. It might be a widely held idea or a forgotten truth, or perhaps even one that feels unknown or deeply contested. This is a sanctuary for exploration, a place to absorb, listen, and learn with an open heart. We're shedding the heaviness of right and wrong and ascending into the lightness of greater connection and expansive knowledge. Today's episode is no exception. This is another precious opportunity to find a little gem or two of wisdom that helps you reweave your own tapestry of truth. Welcome, my friends. Can y'all believe it? Episode 1. This feels so surreal. I'm so stoked. Welcome to the very first episode of the Beyond the Belief podcast. I am your host, Lavender, and I am so excited to be here to discuss today's topic, which, funny enough, is about beliefs. So we're going to unpack beliefs on the Beyond the Belief podcast, right? So here we go. We're going in. We're going to diving into beliefs on the Beyond the Belief podcast. Very deep. I hope that I can share some things today that not only introduce this awesome little passion, heart-led project of mine, but also to share with y'all some information that I think is really powerful. So, as I shared in my intro post, I will be sure to share it. A lot of S's. In the show notes. But I want to just kind of give you a little intro, just a little backstory. So, I have developed a beautiful practice with my guides. You'll hear me refer to them as my guides. They're kind of my spirit guides, my divine counsel, I affectionately call them my soul support squad, or the triple S. That's my preferred. They are those beings that, as well as I do believe my higher self to be in that squad, to advise me and guide me on the things that are important to my deepest heart and soul. And they are part of my now daily life, where at some points I know I was not listening to them, and I'll share those stories too here through Beyond the Belief, the podcast. So I'm excited to uncover, discover, and also share some of those things with y'all. But let me share a little bit about where this birthed from. So my soul support squad, or my guides, they had kind of planted it in my heart, and I felt it. I have always loved talk shows, and this is why I'm really excited about my the Wisdom Within show that has officially kicked off, and I'm in the process of recording episodes with many individuals, which is so amazing. I feel so blessed. And learning about the individual pieces of wisdom from my guests. And kind of around the same time, it was like there's still a need for me to kind of share maybe a little bit of my wisdom or things that I've learned or picked up. And funny enough, it really started to echo, and I started to receive those direct echoes through the people that I speak with. So it's my friends, my close connections, even those people that I don't know even that well. But somehow we get started on a topic, and for some reason, it's always anchoring around some sort of belief. So it's our personal beliefs, others' beliefs, contesting other people's beliefs, understanding other people's beliefs. And I realized how much I did just deeply want to share the things that I find, the things that I hear, because I do a very deep studying practice daily, reading, studying. And it's really fun because I get kind of a variety of different beings. And I've shared this on Substack before, but I truly believe that books are portals to the author's souls. So as we read them and consume them, even listen to them, so audiobooks count here too, the energy that is emitted or radiated from writing these books are the things that come through to us and that we see and we experience. And because there is no such thing as time, and this is another belief we will unpack at some point, that this is all happening in the now moment. So it's all happening basically sequentially all at the same time. So what this means to me is that the beliefs that we hold, the things that we basically see our world through, allow us to experience our life journey. And if we hold on to things, as I call it, like clasping or grasping, those things impact us. And more recently, so right, this idea gets planted in my mind, hey, host this podcast where, and sometimes I will just speak like this. I'll just speak through the microphone. We will talk. Sometimes I will invite others to come join me. One person, multiple people, panels, what have you. We'll talk about different beliefs, sharing our different beliefs. At other times, I'll break out my iPad. I'll sketch out things, illustrate things, because often I do have a clairvoyant and clairaudient kind of side of me that then can receive and understand images and kind of like see and illustrate. So I will do that as well. So basically, you never know what what I'll talk about, and you never know the medium that I might come through in, which or sometimes I'll do maybe even just like a little fireside chat, via video. But I think this leans into the authenticity of the messages and the medium that might be most appropriate and or just kind of what's happening. So I'm really excited about it. But basically my guides, right, they drop this into my heart. I, as a peer generator, so those of you that are familiar with human design, I am a peer generator, no emotional wave. So for me, my sacral is my authority, but I do have a defined spleen. So I do have the splenic connection. So I basically get the double and uh-uhs and they're intense. So for me, I planted this idea and just to kind of see what would come up for essentially me to respond to. So over that little, quote, quote, plot of time, I was able to really connect with it. And here I am kicking it off. And funny enough, crazy enough, wildly enough, this is also being divinely guided to also release, even the timing. So this is something that I have personally changed as far as my practices here on Substack, that if you check out, and I'll put these in the show notes too, my Flow Not Force or our Code of Care, both of these articles are just sharing my beliefs that we should be publishing content when it's best for us and when it's most authentic and specific for what we want. And we shouldn't be forced or feel forced to respond or to do. And yes, this might mean in some instances that there's not regular content schedule. So it's not an every, Wednesday sort of thing, where I definitely started that when I started my Substack. But I've learned that authenticity for me is so much more important. And I'd rather have you have little gems of things that little morsels of knowledge and information or what have you to ingest at your convenience and your leisure and your desire than to try to grind and force. So, if this resonates with you, if the truth is vibrating within you, feel free to join in on those things for yourself, and you're more than welcome to link to them and sharing your echo in that. So I think that it's really important now, kicking this off, to share with you that these will be guided not only for when they release, but also for the content and the topics that I share. So It just makes it all the more connective and all the more fun. And last thing I'll share before we dive into the topic, the belief for today. So when we're talking about human design, and I lean a lot into human design because I feel I've done some very deep studying of it. And I have also studied with basically multiple practitioners or multiple, for those philosophers, if you will, of kind of the original foundings of human design. It's an all-inclusive thing. So I look at what anyone says about it, but I also deeply study kind of the underlying foundation. And this also allows for, and I believe this, here we go, another belief, that what illuminates from us considering things. So let's say instead of me just going to like Karen Curry Parker, she has an awesome quantum human design practice as well as just kind of philosophy and beliefs. But if I only leveraged her and her insights, there might be some things that might make the picture kind of more fuller, more robust. It might also limit the ability to relate to more people. And this is what I personally believe. So this is what I do in my studying and my nerd time, as I call it, is I gather resources from multiple voices. And then I put them all up on the board and I see what illuminates from that. And I see this from even religious practices or beliefs. I see this from, scholarly things. I see this from, just the various schools of thought, if you will. I like to hear from multiple voices because somehow it allows me to expand. So when you hear me talk about a certain belief or topic here on the podcast, I am going to come with information and research, but I will say this too. I am a human, but I also have, room for expansion. So I might start an episode and we talk about it, and then I might revisit it later and I might add to it, or I might refine it. And who knows, maybe I'll replace something, but that's part of the journey forward. And this is what I love about life, that we continue to discover, we continue to uncover, we continue to connect, and it never stops. So please know that despite me, putting a little flag in the sand, if you will, of this is what I see, and this is probably for, again, those of you who know human design, gate 24. My gate 24 is my personality sun. So this is the gate of basically refining, revisiting, re-looking at something. It's kind of like, I describe it if you have like a rock, if you pick up a rock and it's really rough and then you put it in your pocket and you keep smoothing your fingers over it every single day, or, throwing it in a stream and the water keeps going over it, it eventually starts kind of smoothing it out, refining it. And so this is part of my genius, right? The part of the design that I came into this lovely existence and incarnation into. And so I leverage that often. So know that this is kind of like an ever-going, ever-evolving, continuing conversation, but I think that's what makes this so fun. So I hope that you will enjoy joining me on this journey of contemplation, of this journey of really just absorbing. And here's how I would recommend listening to these episodes. Just sit back and just allow. You don't necessarily have to develop your perspective right away. You don't have to, as I say in the introduction, this is our opportunity for us to kind of set down the right and wrong thing, the equation. I think moving beyond right and wrong, we leave the heaviness behind. And what I've always said, and I said this even in my corporate career, to those, let's say, hiring leaders who didn't agree with something I was saying or didn't agree with their boss in what they were saying, is that if we just take a moment to allow, to basically open and to hear someone else's perspective, it does one of two things and both benefit us. So the first thing is it allows us to see someone else's perspective. So it allows us to see and gain perspective on life, on again, perspectives, beliefs, opinions, whatever it may be. Like we get to see the world and experience the world from someone else's shoes, eyes, seat. So it gives us literally expansion. But then also on the other side, it allows us to then contemplate our own belief or our own perspective or our own opinion about this thing that we're discussing. And this should help you either determine refinement or, hey, this is interesting. I've never thought about it this way. Maybe this is something I need to consider. What if I, kind of look at this again? There was Bob Proctor. He has a seminar, the Born Rich seminar. So it's on YouTube. It's free if you want to check it out. They're amazing. There's like 7 videos, I think, together. But he talks about this concept specifically, that he even says the quote from a gentleman named Sidney Herbert Wood. And essentially, he says that Wood's concept of an educated person challenges the traditional view of education as simply attending school and answering questions, which I have to agree. That doesn't make us educated. That doesn't give us perspective. That just, we are really good at maybe memorizing or, regurgitating information. But what he says specifically, so about Sidney's quote, is that Sidney emphasizes the importance of evaluating new ideas based on their potential to improve one's life. So essentially, he argues that true education is demonstrated by one's ability to entertain a new idea, suggesting an open mind is crucial for improvement, even if it means discarding cherished beliefs. And this stuck with me the first time I heard it. I was like, holy cow, because if we're willing at any point to throw out drastically, okay, let's say at least just reconsider a belief or our own beliefs, my goodness, how we open the horizon for possibility. And so as I listened to this, and this was about 1.5 years ago now, and I realized then how true and how important this concept really is. And so this is kind of a nice foray into today's topic, talking about the belief of believing, like having beliefs. And I thought this was obviously also extremely fitting with it being the first episode, because obviously podcast named Beyond the Belief, but I want to talk about the gravity of beliefs and what they actually mean, where they come from. I've got a couple things that I'd love to highlight. So shall we dive in, my friends? So when we talk about our belief system, actually, before I do that, just back up just real quick. So when you're listening to these episodes, just lean into it, just kind of allow it to just ponder what's being shared. And maybe this is something that you contemplate. Maybe it takes weeks or months, if we're talking about time, or it takes a little while. Maybe it takes 2 hours, whatever it is, but you have the ability to allow space for something else. And this might invite in other considerations. I'm always baffled, when I think about the scientific community, because it's like, okay, let's get to the right answer for that time, for our technology, what we see, what we hear. But then the minute anything else comes that might contest that, well, then we got to shoot it down. It's like, no, wait a second. Isn't that the point of experimenting? And I don't know. Call me crazy. But for me, that's what I wish for you as a listener of this podcast. Allow these episodes to be ponderings, contemplations, things to think about. They might be things that you've heard before. They might be something completely different. And we as humans often then default into the fear category when we can't resolve something, when we can't make it make sense, when we can't anchor it and ground it and throw 2 tons of rocks on it to see the strength, and how it holds up to the weight of whatever. Allow this podcast to be the space where you don't do that. Just for an hour or whatever it is each episode. Like, just allow yourself space to not do that, to just listen, to see, again, going back to those 2 things that are benefiting you, see the world from a different perspective, and allow it to bring up or surface things that you might not have thought about before, or, again, might not be something you considered. And even if it does contradict something that you do believe right now, then ask yourself a deeper question. And we'll kind of talk about that here in this episode. But I just want to invite that as just a general PSA. So without continuing right into that rabbit hole, let's talk more about beliefs and just kind of, again, today's episode topic. So essentially, our beliefs and our belief system shape our entire world, our entire life experience. They are truly foundational, that we rely on them to make sense of our world. And when something comes up to contradict or is opposite to our belief system or our beliefs that we hold, oftentimes if we can't sort them out or create some sort of connection, we instantly start fighting it out of fear. It's like, oh, that doesn't make any sense. Nope, not today. It's like, wait, hang on a second. Let's look at this one more time. Or let's put this on the shelf for a second and not try to shoot it down. Again, inviting you, right, to step kind of out of the arena of right and wrong. Let's just allow it to sit there. That is, it might contradict what I feel or think or believe. But does that mean that it's wrong? Maybe not. So just allowing that space. But recently, I have become a QHHT practitioner. So if y'all are familiar with Dolores Cannon and her work, I have gone to her official school and gotten to not only study alongside other practitioners and study the material in a lot of like direct recordings from Dolores, which is incredible. But I also have my own practice, my own study practice, where I'm devouring her books right now. Funny enough, I've read 4 of her books so far. So I've read 5 Lives Remembered, The 3 Waves of Volunteers in the New Earth, Keepers of the Garden, and Between Death and Life. As well as I've read Julia Cannon's book, who is her daughter, called Soul Speak. And through this practice of my own, reflecting, I've listened to, I don't even know how many YouTube videos of Dolores, past recordings, her lectures. I mean, the work is clearly so interesting, and I'm feeling very called to it. So I'm so excited. But the thing that has illuminated so greatly is how powerful our beliefs are. And specifically, when talking about having a QHHT session, forgive me for making it this stark, but maybe follow me here. If we've got the secular world and we've got the spiritual world, and specifically with the secular world, if you have something that you're not so sure about, you're kind of like, I could be open to it, or like, I don't know, I sort of, believe this, or I don't know. You can kind of wing it. I'll give a dramatic example. Like you heard that going skydiving is like the most amazing thing ever. And you're like, okay, yeah, I can, I don't want to do it, but I'm going to do it. Like, here we go. And you dive in. You can kind of wing it. You might pee your pants. You might, you might throw up. Who knows? But you just kind of go with it. But when it comes to things on the spiritual side of the fence, and especially when we're talking about, quantum things like the QHHT work, and just to give a little segment, if you're unfamiliar with them, it's essentially a session where you are going through being hypnotized, and you are going through basically being hypnotized to connect and regress to past lives that we have all lived past lives, all of us. Doesn't matter if our last incarnation was here on Earth or our last incarnation was on another planet or in another dimension, does not matter. But we get to explore our past lives, and we get to directly connect with what Dolores called the SC, or the subconscious, but now affectionately is also called the superconscious, or your oversoul, or your higher self, but basically your inner knowing and the all-knowing, literally the all-knowing within all of us. But for myself as a practitioner, if you came to me and you wanted a QHHT session, I would essentially guide you through this to connect with yourself and to connect with your, your past lives, your past instances, which soon, and this is very mind bending and I'm going through this right now, but it's all simultaneous. So it's not necessarily past, but these are separate, instances, let's just call it, of ourselves in past experiences. So what I have learned is the power of belief in a sense that, let's say, going back to my lovely, weird example, and forgive me, but on the secular side, you're going to go bungee jumping or you're going to go skydive or something. And you can kind of just, throw yourself off. You're like, oh, I'm just going to do it. On the spiritual side, you can't just do that, which I think is really interesting. And it comes down to the belief system, the power of our beliefs. So if you, let's say, hear about QHHT session, you're like, I don't necessarily don't believe it, but I do believe it. I don't know. Like, I'm not against it, but I'm not for it. There's a really high likelihood that the ability for you to deeply connect will be affected because you don't believe it. But if you believe it, you will have a deeply nurturing, healing, connective session. And I thought it was so interesting because it does carry over into everyday life. And even when we think about our beliefs, they actually get stored oftentimes in our bodies somewhere, depending on what the belief is and how strongly we believe it. And depending on how strongly we believe in them or feel that they are our truth, they also attract the energies and vibrations of a similar wavelength to us. So if we believe that the world is, it's a tough place, there's tough things about it, but it's a beautiful place and there are beautiful beings here that I get to interact with, that's who you attract to you. Like attracts like. And this can obviously affect us positively or negatively, either side. But our beliefs, right, going back to kind of an earlier point, they shape our world. They are the foundation, basically, of how we make sense of our world. But they are also what we can leverage to filter every thought, every interaction, every perspective. And we often use them, which is almost like sort of kind of weaponizing them in a certain way to determine if something is right or wrong. And instead, it should be leveraged in a similar way of what I affectionately call alignment. So funny enough, this even goes back to my corporate days. I would tell my hiring leaders, we're not trying to find a candidate that fits or fits in because it implies that there is a box that exists that they must cram themselves into, or they must check every single box on a little list of beliefs. Here we go again. Beliefs of, oh yeah, this is, company culture, and this is what I think, and this is how I treat people. Like, we look for these parallels essentially, and we have to make sure that they check every box or they believe every single thing we believe. Or in this case, they fit into this box, they fit into our culture. For me, I used to call it alignment. So alignment means they don't have to fit into a box. They're magnetically attracted. And maybe, their being doesn't fit in that box because maybe we're setting our bar too low and this person is fabulous and they bring a lot more things than we were looking for. So they literally are bringing more. So that would be an attraction or an alignment and not a fit. And so for me, this is, kind of one of the key takeaways, if you will, that I'd love for you to kind of contemplate and ponder. How can you release really the reins, release the tension, release the clasp on, well, this must be right or wrong, or it can't be my belief unless I 100% believe it. You might be in a state of contemplation that you're not sure yet. You just heard something and you're like, whoa. And for me, how I look at it is if there is any truth to something, for me, it's like there's vibration internally. There's a resonance. There is a connection of like, whoa, okay, I cannot make sense of this in my mind, but something in my heart tells me that this is right. I'm getting an intuitive tap. I feel connected to this and I don't even know why, and it makes no sense. That sort of thing. Then that might be a pathway for consideration and contemplation. And you don't have to, in hearing something, let's say right out of the bat, right? You hear this new belief, this new thing, and you suddenly have to believe it right now. No, you might just need to sit on it. I joke, it's like marinating. I needed to marinate for a while. Allow me to just kind of ponder it, to contemplate. And then from there, I can see what connections or basically what alignment points I feel. What things within me are magnetized to this thing. And maybe what things are repelling. It's like, ooh, yeah, that does, that doesn't necessarily align with this or that, but it does align with this. That's curious. So I've got two on the side of maybe not so close alignment, and then one on the side of alignment. And not being so quick to judge, really. So because these beliefs can affect us so positively or negatively, and sometimes even rule our whole world, this is why I wanted to start this podcast. Because if we can have a space where we contemplate and maybe just allow invitation, allow the space, see this as your sacred space of, hey, I'm going to listen to something that might be like, whoa, or maybe like, that's curious, or that is so interesting. I've never heard that before. Or you know what? I've never heard it said like that. And that's the magic. That's the magic right there. So hopefully that piece makes sense, but allow this to be that kind of space. And again, walking away from right and wrong and walking towards alignment, because we each have our own beliefs. And this comes back to lovely universal laws and basically the law of free will, that part of what is recognized here on this gorgeous, beautiful planet we call Earth is free will. I currently live in the U.S. The U.S. is built upon this fundamental freedom of free will. That as long as you're basically not infringing on another consenting adult, or you're doing something with a consenting adult, and then have at it, you're not infringing on other people's rights. And being that the epicenter of our belief system and having a belief is really important, because obviously it impacts things in our life. It impacts our body, which is our vessel. And we are, I think, more familiar with beliefs impacting like friends and relationships. Oh, I believe this and they don't believe that. But this impacts you. So yeah, you might not be able to be, let's say, friends with somebody because they believe something totally different and they do not want to be your friend because you see something so differently. But also you holding that belief can affect every other facet of your life, not just that relationship. So it's also kind of like contemplating what things are impacted based on our beliefs. And often our beliefs run very deep. And I think that we also don't necessarily invite or allow ourselves to contemplate if things are different. We might have snagged that belief when we were 12. And it was so traumatic, dramatic, intense that it kind of like burned in our minds, and we've never touched it again because ouchie, don't want to touch it again. It might be time to heal and release that and kind of ascend that. So there's also those contemplation of the beliefs and do they still serve us? So hopefully this is also a space to do that too. But tying back to the QHHT piece, the thing I think is really interesting, and I want to share this because it's so funny. This kind of originates back to, again, me with this podcast. But as I'm sharing stories with others, they're like, whoa, I've never heard that before. So hopefully I will be able to share something that you haven't heard before. That's always my fun challenge for myself. But with the QHHT work, in talking about our bodies, so our guides, according to everything that Dolores and Julia have kind of uncovered, discovered, and shared, that essentially our guides, or a team of guides who assist us, are constantly trying to connect and communicate with us. And if we are not paying attention, they literally, if we're not paying attention, they can't. So we can also kind of turn down the volume, if you will. And if they are repeatedly trying to get through, let's say it's really important. As they've shared many times, we have our soul contract. We decide what we're going to do when we come into this life, into this incarnation and this life journey. And we are set out to, let's say, do X, Y, Z. And if we're getting close to a point where we're not going there, or we're way off, right, course, which is where I was a couple months ago, wildly enough, and being course corrected, if you don't listen to, let's say, more traditional ways of them speaking to you, so like myself, I am clairvoyant and I'm clairaudient. I am also clairlient, which has to do with smell. So smell, sight, and hearing are my senses where they're just very keen. If I'm not paying attention to what they're saying, then they are going to leverage my body, my vessel, to communicate with me. And what Julia shares in her book, which is really interesting, it's called Soul Speak. If y'all pick that up, it's actually a really quick read. But it's basically investigating and understanding and uncovering that our body is communicating messages. So where our pain originates, or maybe even a condition, what it means, what it says. So I'll give you an example, because this one just stuck like with me. So there was a couple of different sessions that Dolores had hosted where someone had knee issues. So knee pain, severe knee pain. Another had literally cartilage gone in her knees. And what this was shared in connecting with the SE and understanding is that the knees are associated with your direction, your desired direction in your life. So if you are hesitating or not moving forward, or even resisting taking action toward your desired direction in life, so this is something that, again, you decided before you incarnated, it's your goal, it's your life mission, and you know it, and you're not taking an action, maybe because of fear, or you're ignoring, it will start to affect your knees. And especially if you're not listening to your guides communicating with you, suddenly you have knee pain. And then all of a sudden you have knee issues. And now you have to have a knee replacement. This means it's been a recurring communication that you might be ignoring. And the crazy part for me is hearing that, first of all, and going to the SC specifically, there was healing and rebuilding of cartilage, which for those of you that might know or might not know, that doesn't happen. You normally have a knee replacement surgically. You can't just rebuild cartilage. This lady's cartilage was rebuilt in her knees, which is insane. Another lady who has basically knee pain, the minute we're finding the origination of the cause and the communication and we're taking action now towards it, the knee pain just disappears. So that the physical symptoms we're experiencing are actually self-inflicted, in a sense that we're not listening to the guidance that we need to receive. And so we're experiencing body, basically conditions, pain, what have you, because it's a last resort. Because if we don't pay attention to the signs or things that are trying to be communicated to us, our body is a vessel that can be then tapped. And the incredible thing for me through all of this and learning about QHHT and these miraculous situations is the power of belief. And that if we believe we can be healed, if we believe that things can happen for us, or we go places, or things unlock for us, they do. But the other piece of belief is that when we don't believe, or we, let's say, get into a situation where we're like, this belief, that belief, I don't know, it might be actually at a point that we're not choosing. And when we don't choose, we cannot basically receive flow. We are blocking flow from our guides, divine support, from the universe, God, the entity of your knowing, whoever that is. You cannot receive when you also are resisting and maybe not believing because you're not choosing. So this goes with action too. So as I'm studying all of this and kind of layering these things in, and I'll talk about just a couple of more things on beliefs that are really interesting here in 2 seconds, but it's really profound that the beliefs can affect us in so many ways, and yet we might not realize it. We might make it simple in our minds of, it's just a religious belief, or a belief about people. But actually what we believe about ourselves, what we believe about our capacity, what we believe we can do in our life experience can affect us in so many ways. And that beliefs also can, let's say, in being too rigid, they can stagnate, but they can also free us. So they are a true gateway to everything. If I could be so bold, everything in our life experience. And the other interesting thing I'll tie in, just last thing kind of on the QHHT front before I hop to a couple other things. It's also really interesting that your belief system in what you can connect with will end up transpiring. So like, let's say, you know what? I don't believe I can connect with the SC, or basically my higher self, my oversoul. I don't believe it. Then it won't happen. But if you do believe it, or allow for the magic or the opportunity, allow yourself to be surprised, allow yourself to experience something different, well, then you will. So, and this is because the law, basically, the universal law of free will, that you have the right to say yes or no, stands. So with everything in the quantum spiritual behind the veil realms, however many there are, or dimensions, or what have you, they are all guided by the same laws. And those are respecting free will. So if I say, no, I do not want any communication, they must respect that. So this also kind of jumps into on the side of even possession. So according to everything I've learned also from Dolores, but also through the many voices and the SC moments captured through her books, possession is not possible without belief, or basically consent. So what this means is that if we believe that we could be possessed, we can be. And if we believed we cannot be possessed, that makes it so. So through the power of free will and our choice empowers these beliefs and what comes to us and what doesn't come to us, literally. And the power of belief can also shut things off. So if, let's say, we are being disturbed, and I learned this even through channeling, different books that I've read on spiritual, right, connection and channeling. If you feel something, first of all, you invite in those of the highest light and the highest good. And that automatically means that someone who is not of the highest good or highest light cannot connect with you because you have willed it to be so. Your belief is, no, I do not invite that in. Just the same that if you do experience, let's say, an entity that doesn't feel good, then you invite them and basically almost demand, but you invite them to go back to the light. I do not invite this conversation. I invite you to go back to the light, to receive healing and guidance and love. And they have to respect that. And I am of the school of thought. My belief is that we are in a position always of unfathomable love, that there is no possession. There are not necessarily negative entities that can cling on to us without our consent and possess us. I do not believe that. I do believe that there are entities that, let's say, are of a lower astral, plane or origination, or they're hanging out there, that if we are doing behaviors that, let's say, they love, like an example, let's say they had murdered people in their past incarnation and we are murdering people, well, then we might invite them to come hang out with us because we are doing something of a like energy and vibration. That's not to say that if you feel them, you can invite them to go to the light. You can invite them to leave, and they must, because that's part of the universal laws. But we invite in those who can connect with us based on what we're doing, what we're entertaining. So the power of our belief and the power of our thoughts are incredible. Truly, truly, truly incredible. Going into, there's a gentleman who was named Dr. Maxwell Maltz, and he wrote a book called Psycho-Cybernetics. It's an incredible book, if you'll pick that up. But it's really talking about the power of the mind and the power of beliefs and the power of that belief that we hold in our minds. And he gives a multitude of examples. Some of my favorite ones are actually from Bob Proctor, who talks about Dr. Maxwell Maltz's work. But Bob speaks in these same Born Rich seminars I mentioned earlier about a salesperson. And that he gives this example that basically we have a cybernetic mechanism in our minds. A cybernetic mechanism would be like autopilot on a plane. So how autopilot works is that you program where you want to go, but sometimes, let's say the wind or other elements, we got to go around a storm, or, things come up in the path that we kind of go around, but it comes back to its course. We're not going to end up, in Timbuktu. We're going to end up at that destination. It might take us longer because we kind of go around or navigate these things or the turbulence or what have you, but we end up at that destination because it's programmed. So we have a cybernetic mechanism in our minds, and it's based on our beliefs. So what Bob talks about is a salesperson that believes, let's say, and I'm just going to throw a number out, that they can make, $500,000 in sales a year. And with that belief, they will always make around $500,000 a year. They will never make more and never make less, for the most part, because they have the belief. It's programmed. And so he gives an example that, let's say you have a salesperson who they want to, make $1 million this year. They want to double it. And they might start off in the first couple of weeks. Let's say they're hot. They're doing great. They're making all these sales. They made more sales in this month than they made in any other month. And if you were to, trend it out, they would make darn close to $1 million. But their cybernetic mechanism in their mind says, whoa, you're going too fast. You're not going to make your 500K. Even though for us, it's like, wait a second, but this is a good thing. But it doesn't know that. If you believe, which means you have programmed your mind to think, I'm only going to make 500,000, you will only make 500,000. By the end of the year, you'll only make a 500,000. So Maxwell Maltz talks about the power of our beliefs, and he was a plastic surgeon who realized through his clients that even when he would make the cosmetic changes, let's say, they didn't like their nose, the appearance, what have you, and he made the appearance change, so he did the surgery, they would still have the belief that their nose is still looking like it did before. And they still believe them in themselves or believe in their appearance to be what it was before that. So do you all see how powerful? I mean, it's just like, gosh. And last one I want to touch on is Michael Singer. So I read Michael Singer's books, The Untethered Soul and The Surrender Experiment, recently. Super powerful books. Would absolutely recommend them. But essentially on the framework of our beliefs and the power of our beliefs and what kind of our ego gets in there and believes and stands up for and gets involved with. And so the power of what we believe and then what we, kind of allow our ego to believe and get involved literally with on a daily basis affects our life experience. And that the more that we let go and release the beliefs, the more freedom we have. Because the beliefs are what architect these little houses that we basically put together, and then we don't want anything to happen. And I will tell you right now, I can relate to this a gajillion %. I probably, honestly, if I really look at it transparently, I never should have been in a corporate career. I learned how to be extremely successful at it. And I was. I'm proud of myself in that. Great job, Lavender. But it is not aligned to who I am. And so I went through a lot of hell doing something that I didn't want to do, basically. And what ended up happening was that I saw refuge in spending money. And basically, as he depicts in The Untethered Soul, it's like there's this cage. And I elected to get myself basically to live in a cage instead of just living in this beautiful, gorgeous world, because I could pat it and I could feel safe and secure in there. And I couldn't move around and I couldn't do anything, but at least I was safe because I was trying to protect myself from the corporate energies, really, that I was surrounded by. And so thinking about it, and the way he depicts it, I'm doing a terrible job, but the way he depicts it in the book, that you would rather be in a cage where you're locked in than be free because you're trying so desperately to hide or self-soothe for things that is not good for you, not aligned, meant that I suffered a lot. And I learned through the power of his words and just the way he puts it together that then I would protect my cage. And if anybody messed with my cage, like, I'll give you a really silly example. So I had coffee that I just love. I love this coffee. And I need to make sure that I have backstock of this coffee in my pantry so I'd never run out of it. And if I try to order more backstock basically, that I don't need, but if I try to order more and they don't have it, now I'm upset because I need this backstock and I need to make sure I have, specifically at least 1 to 2, packages. And like, I would get into this absolute mind bender and emotional tornado because I didn't want to run out of coffee. And it's just when you start to unpack those things that you realize and they feel so normal. And anyone else would be like, it's fine. Like if they don't have it, it's not a big deal. I'm like, no, you don't understand. I love this coffee. Hello, ego. But I was architecting a house that no one could touch, that it had to be in a certain way. And it caused me pain every single day. I spent more time trying to protect my cage or protect my little house that I built and making sure no one touches it and I have everything I need and it has all the specific instructions and the specific padding and the specific this and this and this and this, like all these things. And then I would constantly go back and think about it. How can I make it more safe, more secure, more soundproof? Oh, I could buy this. I could buy that. I could get this. I could install this. I mean, it became a campaign. And then when I finally was able to heal and realize, but this is the power of belief, right? I believed that I was keeping myself safe. I was protecting myself from the world. But why was I doing that? And allowing myself the space to realize, maybe this is not what I want to do. Maybe this is not so good. So I will say this, whatever you believe, so it is. Whatever you believe, so it is. If you believe you're sick, if you believe you're healed, well, then you are. There is no limit. As Dolores says, anything is possible. During a recent morning reflection, I think that I even shared this on SUBSTACK notes, my guide shared with me, nothing is impossible. So there you go. Anything is possible and nothing is impossible. The only limitation is our minds. And this is further the vessel sometimes of where we host our beliefs or we ninja and protect our beliefs and house the things that we create. And think about it like this. Your belief is you creating a little campfire within your heart or your mind. And every belief that you hold is another campfire. So ask yourself, inquire, how many campfires do I have going on? Do I got a forest fire going on in there at this point? Like, what is going on? It's good to reflect, right? To see these things. And again, these beliefs are rooted in every facet of our lives. It's not just relationships, y'all. It's how we spend money, what content we consume, what we listen to, what we don't listen to, what we reject, what we accept. I mean, everything. So I think the other, powerful thing that I kind of want to share and leave you with as you contemplate, like attracts like. Even if we jump over to science, like attracts like. If you've got oil and water, they don't mix, but if you have oil and oil, they mix. And if you have water and water, they mix. Like attracts like. And for me, I think about this. What if we believed that people were good? And what if we believed that we attract the incredible? And that we attract aligned abundance to us at all times? And we host that belief and we hold it deeply in our heart with our little campfire and we tend to it. What would happen is you will soon find that you only attract the incredible aligned abundance and people who are good to you and show you love. That's what you end up receiving. But it's the power of our belief that facilitates the speed in which we experience it. We can also say time, but the root of our belief, the anchor of our belief, the heaviness, the gravity of our belief is literally how much we feel it, how much we experience it, how much we see it. And you are a powerful creator. That's what this means. That whatever you believe is what you basically see. Napoleon Hill famously said Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. And I'll repeat it one more time. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Our minds are powerful, powerful, powerful. So what we can conceive and essentially plant in our minds, in our hearts, and then believe, it can achieve. Whatever it is, there are no limits. There are no limits, y'all. So my invitation to you today in talking about the belief of beliefs, think about the power that your beliefs hold. And as we kind of dive into this podcast journey together, we will talk through, walk through, and journey through the magic of beliefs and specific beliefs. We'll navigate those. But today, it's one that's giant, right? And it maybe in future episodes, it's one, it's small, it's many, it's massive, but each belief we hold and host within us, whatever it is, becomes true. When we think about hosting those beliefs, or even how about hosting the beliefs that we've held for a long, long time? When we contemplate or ponder how long we've held them, we may not even be able to remember. We can't even put a date on it. But we clench and we hold on to them for dear life. But all I would ask you to think about or just ponder for one moment is why? Why do I hold this belief so tightly? Why do I need to? Just taking a moment to ponder that. You might free yourself from a belief that you don't even believe anymore. It's just been routine. You don't even think about it. You had already believed it, right? You already conceived it and believed it, and you already achieved it, but you just won't let go of it. And the thing is that if we host these beautiful little campfires in our hearts, we should tend to them. Well, how is the health of this campfire? Do I need better fuel? Do I need a better canopy to, help more oxygen with the fire so that it's warmer and brighter? Or like these maintenance things we don't ask, we just continue to let them all burn. So maybe this is a great opportunity to think, just ponder, allow the space. And the other part that I'd love to leave you with is that often we are told and we are instructed and we're guided that if we release one belief, we must replace it with another. So because we release this belief on people, now we have to find something that we can, put in its place. And often we just freeze. We're like, I don't want to let it go because I don't know what to replace it with. I have found in my own life journey that to release and set a belief free without replacing it, it almost transports you to the highest point of possibility. It allows a space for, like me in my cases, which I know others experience too, is you hold something in your hands and your hearts. And without letting go, we never actually get to see it and experience it and see it from all the facets, like even just observe it. And we will never feel it fully unless we see it and recognize it and allow it to be. And sometimes our fear takes over and it's like, no, keep that in a box. I learned that when I was 6 and I will never let it go. But that could be the thing, that could be the gateway, that could be the doorway for you to hold something even bigger and even more incredible that sets you free. We will never feel it and never experience a new belief because we might be not creating space to even consider it. And that's what I would invite you to do today. Allow the space, allow the pause, allow the moment to say, you know what, I'm going to allow some magic here. And if my conscious mind is like, oh my gosh, what are you doing? Then this is a great opportunity to be like, Because what I also believe is that we are the observer. We are not our feelings. We are not our emotions. We are not our rush of emotions. We are not human design. We're not our emotional wave. We are not the circumstances. We are not. We are the beautiful spirit and soul that's way in the back, seeing through these eyes, hearing the different indicators. I got an upcoming episode. I'm going to talk about how literally your body is like an instrument cluster in a car. You're basically your dashboard, right? All the lights, all the, the check engine light and this and that, like they're indicators. They are not you. You are a beautiful soul. So allowing space to just, okay, my conscious mind does not like that. Interesting. Why doesn't it like it? Oh, because it's threatening this belief. It's threatening this frame of reference, this thing that everyone wants to poke at, and I don't like it. It makes me feel a certain way, and so I don't want anyone to touch it, so I'm going to lock it down. Don't lock it down. Set it free. I will tell you that cage is not fun. I know it firsthand. I've been there so many times and for a long time. And I will say I've never felt freer walking out of that cage. It was scary. It was. But you can do it. I know you can. So for sure, allow space. Allow this to just be a little space and experience a new belief. And allow that space to just host it for a minute and just look at it. You don't have to hold on to it. You can set it free. It's okay. Nobody's going to tell you what to do. And if they're telling you what to do, then they are trying to make their belief exist and grow and have others latch onto it. And that's ego. That's our ego. So if we, for just one moment, simply looked at something, a belief, without judgment, and instead just invite yourself to look at it from all angles. Just observe it. Just see it, listen to it, feel into it, see what emotions pop up and arise within you. See what parts of it illuminate for you, or it might, shine a light on a part of you that you've never seen before. You're like, wow, where did that come from? That was intense. Like, allow that to be. See what shocks you. See what makes you feel a certain way. I will say that is part of why I'm here. For those of you, again, who might have already caught this on my Substack, I know I talk about sometimes my gate placements, but I encompass and embody the gate 51, which is the gate of shock. I am built to sustain shock, shocks of life, shocks of things. And I will tell you, I've had a very shocking life, but I'm built for it. It's what I'm here for. And I might say some things that are very shocking, but that's part of evolving. That's part of being and existing and inviting maybe a different belief that could change your whole perspective, could change your whole world. And allow these feelings to come up and then just simply inquire why. Not what is this? Investigation. Turn off all the lights. Turn on the spotlight. Like, not like that. Just, where did this originate? Is this something I still believe? Or maybe this is an opportunity to allow it, to contemplate it, as I say, allow it to marinate and reflect upon it. Revisit it. You don't have to change anything. You really don't. You have the power of free will. But know that your free will locks in, holds on to, declares what you believe. And what you believe is what you achieve. What you believe is what you see. What you believe is what you experience. So if by chance you're experiencing something you don't like, maybe backtrack. Ask why 5 times. Get to that root cause. It might be that you are hosting and holding a campfire of belief that is allowing those things to be attracted to you. Curious, right? Everything's interconnected. I'll be the first to tell you that. I won't be the last to tell you that. But anyways, y'all, hopefully this first episode was something. Just taking a moment for yourself to ponder. Beliefs are powerful. They can be the gateway. They can be the doorway. They can literally be the portal to something incredible. Allow it to be. You are an empowered observer. Things may pop up, but those things are not you. They're just facets or fragments or pieces or sections of representation, or your indicators trying to keep you safe, trying to keep you healthy, trying to keep you going. So just know that you control your world. And I don't like to use the control word, but I will for one moment. You control your experience based on your beliefs. And I hope that you will join me on this awesome journey of exploring beliefs, because within each and every episode, you never know what I'll talk about. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. And I appreciate y'all so much. If you loved or liked or this episode resonated with you, please share it with a friend. Feel free to leave me a review. You can leave me a comment on Substack. Whatever works for you works for me. I would love to hear your feedback. But I love each and every one of you who are here and listening to this. I'm sending you so much love and light in this gorgeous moment of now. And please know that through the power of belief, you can change your whole life experience. Okay? I love y'all, and I'll see you in the next episode.